We all knew the NIL era would have an ugly side, and just now we're seeing the ugliest side of it as undefeated Group of 5 playoff hopeful UNLV just had their starting quarterback quit over it. And we do have to make a distinction here between him either not getting paid what he was promised or owed, or asking for more money after a good start and then not getting it. Either way, it's a he said, she said thing right now. But somebody's going to look really bad at the end of this, if not all parties. But the part I just can't get over the most, that irks me to the fullest, is even that if you transferred in this year, how as the starting quarterback you could ever look at your teammates in the eyes again after walking out on them at this point during the season or really any point? I don't understand how the competitor in you doesn't take over and at least says, regardless, we'll handle it after the season, even through litigation if we have to. But these are the guys I've sweat and bled with, and I made a promise to. I'm their leader, and damn it, I'm going to prove it even more now by the way that I play. Let's say you didn't ask for more money, or you did ask for more money and you got turned down. How does the competitor in you not want to go extra hard for your guys to prove it, or understand really how business works? Because you ask for a raise doesn't necessarily mean you always get one. Now, I don't know which of these scenarios is true, but this sets a precedent that is scary for all of college football. We see this in the NFL with holdouts and contract demands all the time, but this isn't the NFL. College football is a big business. We aren't naive. I'm not saying it's not a big business, but for those hanging on to the last bit of so-called purity in the game, this is a knife through the heart. Now, I don't know if he got screwed over or tried to put the screws to UNLV for more, but either way, it feels like college football just crossed another ugly threshold for everyone involved, including us. David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, my brother, former Western State, Colorado wide receiver, Blaine Crane. And David, there's a lot of he said, she said. You have credible people kind of coming out on both sides. The collective and the people that represent them say that $100,000 was never offered to Matthew Saluka, that he went in and asked for more money. And then you have Saluka's agent saying, no, this was a promise that was made. But either way, why would you not get it in writing? And or why would you ever step foot on campus if you didn't get that money that was promised in the first place? I don't understand.
I have many thoughts on this, and this will serve as today's get off my lawn because I'm angry. I've been angry at this story all morning. It's an embarrassment to college football. It's an embarrassment for every single person involved, no matter who is ultimately responsible. And it's an embarrassment for the lack of leadership in college football. Now, because we don't know all the details, like you said, I'm going to try and keep my thoughts as broad as possible because I don't really think the issue here is a Group of 5 quarterback at UNLV quitting on the team in the middle of the season. I think of this as more of an indication of where we are as a culture and as a society, because that's what's most concerning to me as someone who's trying to raise kids in this environment. The word I've been thinking about all morning on this is accountability. It used to mean something when you shook another man's hand. It used to mean something when you gave your word and said, here's what I'm going to do. Every lie that you tell someone chips away at the bedrock of civilization, because that trust is what is the bedrock of our civilization. And perhaps that's happening here in this situation at an institutional level. Maybe the program made promises they didn't honor. Maybe it's happening with a coach who lied. Maybe it's his agent. Maybe it's the kid's fault, right? I don't know. I know that you have to stand up for yourself. You owe it to yourself and your family to not be exploited. But I also think that our generation sometimes they don't understand that life is a long game, or at least life can be a long game if you're playing it right. Like, I've never made a single dollar from playing football, not $1 in my life, but I dedicated most of my life to the sport, and look at the opportunities that it's opened up. So I just say, there's going to come a time in every former player's life where they would give every dollar bill in their bank account if they could suit up one more time with their guys, right? If they could go into the huddle with their teammates who end up being lifelong brothers, they would do that one more time, because that's something you can't put a price tag on.
I think you couldn't have put that any better. Blaine, obviously, I've got a feeling I know where you're going to go on this. I'm just to the point where if I feel like this kid played this wrong doing it this way, regardless of what happened, because now I always look at it from a coaching perspective. Matthew Sluka is not going to play in the NFL at quarterback. Maybe it's trying to get a quick money grab because he knows he's not going to play in the NFL as a quarterback. Maybe it'll be a tight end or something because he does have some ability, but he doesn't throw the ball well enough, and I don't think he can make the jump to throw the ball well enough. But he decided to redshirt, right, which you can only do if you play a certain amount of games, and he obviously hasn't used it. But if I'm a coach of another team and I look and I say, you're a 43% passer from a completion percentage, and you are willing, regardless of situation, to quit on your team that has a chance to make the playoffs still. UNLV is, especially with Memphis losing to Navy, why would I ever bring you into my locker room, regardless of where I'm at in my program? Because if you're willing to quit on this, what else are you going to be willing to quit on if something doesn't go your way? I feel like the kid made a mistake.
Would you quit? Okay. And we don't know the truth of this, so who said what on what side. But would you quit if someone offered you a bunch of money, you came here, you worked for 4 weeks, you asked, and they didn't pay you the money? Would you just keep working?
No, because I wouldn't have came unless I had something signed on paper.
Yeah,
because I'm not a dummy.
So I don't think it's. I think I would blame the people around this quarterback.
Well,
they failed him. His agent failed him. His parents failed him. Because I agree with you, he shouldn't have set foot on this campus until something was written on a piece of paper. Now, would I be surprised if a coach said something to him about a certain amount of money that he never saw? I'm not surprised if a coach tried to cash a check that a collective wouldn't do. I'm not surprised by that. So I think there's fault on both sides here. But I do think if this kid was promised this, okay, it just puts him in a tough situation because at the end of the day, if you're promised, we don't live, this isn't 15 years ago. This isn't 10 years ago, 5 years ago, hell, even last year. Kids are getting paid now. And I wouldn't be surprised.
And they've been getting paid.
Yeah, true. On the table, I wouldn't be surprised the amount of verbal agreements that are out there about money.
Well, if there's been so many examples, and again, I don't think what you're saying is crazy to a lot of people that are younger or in a different generation. I don't think what you're saying is nuts or that you're even wrong. But again, how many times in the history of business has somebody made a verbal contract to somebody and backed out of it or screwed them over? This is not a new thing. If that's what happened, again, I don't want to act like I know exactly what happened because it's he said, she said, whatever. But I'm going to go back to the decision that he made. You want a red shirt, which means you want to transfer after this because there's no going back to UNLV. I don't think you're going to go to a place that's better than UNLV after this, and I don't think anybody would take you there. So why not say, you know what? I was promised this, and I'm not getting it. I'll play the rest of the season. I'll play as hard as possible. I'm going to go prove to you how much I'm worth. And at the end, if I don't get paid, if I have ground to stand on legally, that I can go back and say, all right, well, now I'm going to sue you. That's what I would do. Not quit on the team 4 games in. Because to me, it's just a bad decision for him to make this decision. Maybe it was a bad decision in not getting in writing. It was, if that's the case of what happened. Was it a bad decision by whatever coach told him? If that's what happened, that they were going to give him money? Yes. But I feel like this is the worst decision. Like you got so upset you made the worst decision possible. Because if you did have something concrete that was in writing, that was set up and stable, and UNLV was not honoring their commitment, at the end of the year, that's fine. I will sue you to the point where it goes from UNLV to Sluka NLV. That's what it'll be. But obviously, that's not the case. That's why I think it may have been hey, we're going to give you this, whatever. That is a bad life decision. That is a stupid business decision. And to me, it's not good. I think it makes UNLV look scummy if that's the case. But take this as a lesson. It's like on heavyweights when they go to the fat camp and they're sitting down at the opening orientation and the 2 old people come out and say, oh no, we had to sell the camp. And then the guy comes back and says, don't let anybody else sign your checks. This is a life lesson for this kid. If this is what happened, you don't just believe somebody, especially nowadays in 2024, when they promise you something. I'm the Holy Cross quarterback. You want me to come to UNLV? You promised me $100,000. Okay, write that up. Let's get a contract. I'll read the contract. My agent, my lawyer, my parents will read the contract. I want that money wired in to my account the minute I sign to play there and step on campus. And that's not what he did. So again, everybody looks bad. College football in general looks bad. But to me, this was a bonehead decision that was just compounded with an even stupider decision by this person.
I think it's a bonehead decision on both sides.
That's what I'm saying.
It's a bonehead decision. The two things can be true at once. It's outlandish to me to think that this number just magically got made up.
Yeah,
right?
The 100,000 to 3,000, like something's already off.
Yeah, there's no way like this, that difference in between numbers.
So would it shock you though if it turned out, and again, we're just running this ground ball out, that UNLV starts like this, right? You beat Kansas, you're looking good, and this quarterback's looking around, he's seeing how much money Peyton Thorne's making at Auburn to be terrible, all these other quarterbacks that are making all this money, and he goes, you know what? I'm worth way more than what y'all are paying me. I'm going to go into the coach's office because I have the leverage because I'm the starting quarterback, and I'm going to ask for more money.
And we just hope not.
I don't think. David, I hope not, but that's not out of the realm of possibility.
This is all on the institution. They promised 100,000. They're at 3,000. The other side of this report is that UNLV has completely fulfilled its obligations and that he is coming in and he's trying to leverage a 3-0 start. Man, I hope not. And if it's you brought up a really interesting point with the legal standing, because why even take a snap if you hadn't been paid? But to Blaine's point, maybe you're getting strung along and finally you had enough 4 weeks in and you quit the team. I wonder if there would be more legal standing if you finished out the season, right? And you have that, because a lawsuit's coming. If you were promised something and didn't get it, a lawsuit's coming.
It's coming.
Even if there's no contract, because you can have an oral contract. There won't be any proof of it, but a contract was made if that's the case. But to your point on whether or not he's trying to leverage a 3-0 start, let's just hope not, because that's, to me, is really the worst possible scenario.
I agree.
In this. And let me tell you another reason why. He spent 4 years at Holy Cross, and this is a 5th year already. He played 4 years. So a red shirt wasn't used. You're already using a 5th year. You'd be taking such a gamble on the NCAA to be able to green light a red shirt year, which at this point, that's another problem. Are we just going to let kids play as many seasons as they want now?
And two things, and I'm going to get to the chat because I know you guys are buzzing, and the phone line's going to open at 2:45 p.m. Central. It's 1-855-236-3228. Please hit that subscribe button as well if you're here. I also think if you play the rest of the season out and y'all play really well, let's say y'all go undefeated. Let's say y'all make the playoff. You think UNLV ain't going to fork over $85,000? You know how much money you get paid to play in the college football playoff, or the amount of money that'll be brought in by you playing well? They'll probably give you more.
You think so?
I think
you think it's just a cash flow?
Well, no, I don't think that's. But I'm not even looking at it from a UNLV doesn't have the money. I'm looking at it from, all right, you promised me this, you haven't given me to it yet. You're stringing me along. Say you're not going to pay it, whatever. That's fine. When we're 12-0, you think you got them by the balls now? Let's say we're 12-0, and I'm playing great. The team's winning. We're all in this together. UNLV's hotter than it's ever been. Right? More people are showing up to the games, buying tickets, buying merch. We're selling hot dogs left and right, whatever. They'll find a way if you're worth. I'm almost wondering if this is kind of a negative look for the ability of the player, because if he was worth it to them and he came in and was like, well, I think I need a little bit more money, or y'all need to pay me the rest of the money you said you're going to pay me. If you're worth it to me and I'm the head coach, I'm getting on the phone.
Yeah.
We're going to get you the money.
Which it shouldn't come to that. No. It should be like what I said. It should be when you looked a man in the eye and shook his hand. What did you say?
How did you get him to UNLV?
But on the details of the actual X's and O's of football, to Jake's point, people have been asking me for a couple of weeks, do I think UNLV will be the Group of 5 contender in the college football playoff? And I said, I don't know. I don't think they throw it well enough.
I know.
But they're a run-first team with a quarterback whose completion percentage is under 50%. Don't let the other kid come in and play better.
Oh, the kid from the Campbell Camels?
Yeah. Don't let him come in and play better.
What if he completes?
Even though that's not what this is about.
No.
That's not what this is about. But the reality of the situation is UNLV's still undefeated and they're a run-first team. They're still X's and O's.
Well, don't come out on Saturday and get absolutely ran by Fresno State.
And this is the worst possible time to play
ran by Fresno State.
Oh, nobody's licking their chops more than Fresno.
And they're not a bad football team, man. We've all said our piece here, so I want you to jump in. If you have any inside information or if you know details that we don't, please feel free to update us on that. If not, and you know what we know, which is the kid is saying the program didn't honor commitments that they made, and the school's saying, yes, we did. He's trying to leverage us for more money. Then what are your thoughts up to this point?
So listen, first off, if you didn't see this coming, you're walking around with half a brain. And it won't be the last time. Wait till a position group tries to do it. Wait till 3 receivers decide, well, wait a minute. We are way more productive than that group over there. We're not playing this. Right? I mean, what's happened, guys, is when you go out and bring a bunch of hired mercenaries in and things don't go well, what is their loyalty and allegiance to the football team and to the football program? They have none. And why would he? He just got there in July, right? And he went there because he thought he was getting money, not because he thought UNLV was going to compete for a college football playoff spot, right? So I'm unbelievably frustrated by this. Number one, I cannot imagine this kid thought that this would blow up in his face the way that it has.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever saw this.
And I don't think you can put this one back in the box, bud.
You can't. You ain't putting this face back in the tube. Secondly, who in the world is representing this kid?
Yeah.
Would you buy a house without it being in writing?
No, Tom, that was my whole point. It's crazy.
What are you doing? And for the collective arm of UNLV to come out and say, we've never talked to one of his representatives. Matt Sluka's got to be looking at Marcus Cromartie saying, you never talked to this group? Like, where was something in writing in print to say, hey, once you enroll, here's your contract?
Yeah. All right, I'm coming.
That is absolute insanity. I mean, it really is. And you know what? And I don't know how you guys feel, and I'm older than all of you on that set. But did it have to come to this point? Like, could it have not been a scenario where I'm assuming what we've heard so far is the truth, and so far it's been mostly one-sided until this afternoon when UNLV came out and had a statement. But could it have not gotten to the point where you work together and you say, hey, listen, this isn't right, and if I have to take legal action, I will. I don't want it to come to that. My job is to play football here. Let's figure out a resolution.
Yeah. Right?
I mean, did it have to get to this point? Because now, like you said, you're not putting the genie back in the bottle. And what now happens to the kid, right? Because nobody's going to want to touch him probably.
That's what I said earlier, too.
What happens to the UNLV program in the recruiting space, in the transfer portal space, if now the word's out there that UNLV doesn't hold up their end of the bargain? Whether that's true or not, perception's 9/10 reality, right? So it's a whole big, giant mess, but we deserve it, guys.
Yeah.
We absolutely deserve it.
We don't.
We've allowed this to happen.
Yeah. The lack of leadership who gave this to us does.
And I think a lot of it's going to swing either way depending on who wins that game Saturday. I really think
Syracuse?
Fresno.
Oh, yeah, they got Fresno. Then they got Syracuse the following week.
Yeah.
And they're now starting a quarterback that played for the Campbell Camels in North Carolina.
Hump up. Let's get it. Tom,
and by the way, real quick, let's not forget this. Do you know he's completing 43.8% of his passes?
Yes, they're a run-first team. That's what I said. Don't let the backup quarterback come in and play better.
No, if it was Cam Ward, I would have gone to him and said, hey, can we give you more money?
This just smells like, to me at least, is some assistant coach or somebody recruiting him said something to him that the school couldn't cash. Because you had to get him on UNLV. You had to get him on campus somehow.
Yeah.
You had to get him
on campus. But how dumb are you to do something like that without saying, can I please see the contract?
What's
I'm not
that?
saying that on the kid. If you have representation, no representation do.
Everybody failed this kid.
Sir, this is better than money. Yeah. It's an IOU.
That's an IOU, Tom.
Breaking news before we take the next call. The starting running back for UNLV just left.
Just what do you mean he just left?
He's going redshirt because the NIL opportunities weren't met.
Shut up.
Ross Dellinger just broke it.
The running back hit? Okay.
So the running back.
Okay, hold on.
Now there's a pattern.
Ting, ting, ting. You lied.
There's a pattern.
Someone's been lying.
Either that or they are going to cave and the running back knows it. There's this one. Dude, this has got.
Hey, this is awful.
This is awful. It's not even funny, really.
Don't be afraid of the storm, okay? Learn how to dance in the rain. If you're a betting man, okay, you go bet all your money on Fresno State right now. Don't worry about all this other stuff. You go bet your money on Fresno State
it's falling
right
apart,
now.
Huh?
God, that line is going to freak out. I wonder what it's at now.
It's at 1.5. It's still open. It's 1.5 UNLV.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Well, can we go back and redo our best bet segment of our early best bet?
What is happening?
I don't know.
UNLV,
Dude,
man.
I don't know.
Golly. Here's a couple updates for you guys quickly. This is UNLV's athletic department made a statement. Football player Matthew Sluka's representatives made financial demands upon the university and its NIL collective in order to continue playing. UNLV Athletics interpreted these demands as a violation of the NCAA pay-for-play rules as well as Nevada state law. UNLV does not engage in such activity, nor does it respond to implied threats. UNLV has honored all previously agreed upon scholarships for Matthew Sluka. UNLV has conducted its due diligence and will continue to operate its programs within the framework of the NCAA rules and regulations as well as Nevada state law. And then there was also a statement that was put out from the CEO of Blueprint Sports, who runs the collective, basically saying the same thing.
God, this is just an absolute. This is like when monkeys at the zoo start throwing feces at each other. This is what this feels.
It's just like he said, she said. That's what it's going to turn into. Like it's like, what is it? The game of Clue? It was the running back coach in the kitchen who told him, like, somebody like. There's something's
Don't
missing.
be in the kitchen.
Don't be in the kitchen.
Something's missing from this because there's no way this kid just popped out of nowhere and said, "I want 100 G's."
Is it though? I mean, do you really have that hard
that
of a
is
time
almost
doing that?
clinically insane to me. To pop out of nowhere on a week 3 of football, say, "Hey man, I want 100 grand. And I'm not playing."
And now the running backs left too.
Like, look, you're in trouble.
It's bad, man.
Yeah, it's not good for football at all.
Hey, YouTube, what's up? If you haven't already, please subscribe. We appreciate it. Whether we agree, whether we disagree, hopefully it's a little bit of both. We just appreciate you being here.